Pete. There you are. Well, it's episode 300 of the Gratu Orloff television program, brought to you in color from the Gratu Orloff studios here in Gratuville, Tennessee. Yes, episode 300, it's quite a milestone, or a millstone, as our president said yesterday. He was giving a speech yesterday celebrating the death of 500,000 people, and he said it's quite a millstone, and he said, oh, a milestone. Well, it's great to have a president like that, and I'm really happy about how our country's going. Looks like things are going very, very well in Washington, D.C., and so nothing to complain about there. Nothing at all. It's wonderful. Well, so changes happening here in the world of Gratu Orloff, trying to get the Floor 7 organized, an ongoing struggle. I have this on television here that I got for $1.50 or $1 at a thrift store. And then I've got this Atari 2600 down here. See, but then apparently I don't have the right plug-in AC adapter. I don't have the right thing to plug it in to charge it. So, I mean, I have it somewhere, but I don't know where it is at this time. So I can't. I was going to play some Atari 2600 games. Pete was looking forward to it. You see yourself on the screen there, Pete? Well, I've got to get this chair reupholstered. This antique store down the street closed, and they threw a bunch of furniture out at the curb that they just didn't want to move with them, and this was one of them, and it's in bad condition, but it's such a cool space age crawler, I think is the brand, chair. I've got to get it reupholstered. So if you know how to reupholster stuff, hey, that would be cool. Been hearing from a lot of you down in the comments below, and it's good that I've finally added on Facebook Chad Miller in San Antonio, because I finally figured out how that messenger even works. I keep forgetting on my phone how things work, and like Night Tiger Comics called me yesterday, and I saw a number coming in, but I figure it's a bill collector, but because I hadn't put in his name with the number, because I don't get many phone calls here, so most of my friends the friends that I've had, you know, some have passed away, or some have just become, they just disappeared. Weird things happen. So it's great to have actual people calling me that are friends instead of bill collectors, but I got to get past that mode of assuming every call that's coming in is some horrible bill collector, because we paid off all our credit cards and everything. All we've got is a small little loan, I think $6,000 with the bank, and then all we got to do is pay off. I think we got about $21,000 in a home equity loan, so I could sell this house and clear a whole lot of money to buy a neat house somewhere. And I've seen cool ones in Texas. I've seen them in Virginia, where they've got a libtard governor. I'm looking at Tennessee and West Virginia, Kentucky. Florida seems like a great place. They've got a great government there. There just has to be the right. Florida seems great. It just has to be the right sweet spot, because I'm scared of hurricanes. Then I'm scared of tornadoes. Then I'm scared of earthquakes. That's why I don't go to the West Coast. Well, also the libtards. Not that we don't like libtards here on the Gratu Orloff Network. Let's see what we got here. Why, it's in Edison's catalog. Edison's. Better values on better merchandise, always. This is a company out of Fort Worth, so you may not have ever heard of it. There are regional stores I remember growing up in San Antonio, there was a store called Josky's. I don't know if that's still around anymore. Chad Miller or Mike in the Comic Crypt might be able to tell me if Josky's is still around. I don't think it is. Boy, that's the place my mom always shopped. And I remember a five and dime store. I guess they call them dollar stores now, but they really aren't equivalent. A five and dime store really had cool stuff. It wasn't just really cheap Chinese shit, because it was made in Hong Kong or Japan. It's still, I remember my father. It's so funny. When I was a kid, there'd be a toy, it'd say made in Japan. He says, "You don't want that, it'll break right away, it's made in Japan." Now we consider made in Japan to be the highest of goods, the television made in Japan. You've got a car made in Japan, it's gonna be great. It's amazing how things have changed. But after the war, Japan made lots of tin toys, made out of tin, rocket ships and little laser guns and all kinds of robots that wound up and would break pretty quickly, but they sure were cool looking. But yeah, here's some games you could get. What year is this? I'm betting this is about 1980. Let's see. Yeah, judging by the hairstyles there, it's about that time period. Let's see what we got. Oh, yeah. Episode 300. I recently went back in and numbered all of my episodes, going back to 1, the first episode, because I'm like a comic book collector. I think of things, you've got to be sequential, and I can refer back to a certain episode. Come on, there's got to be something good. Damn. Look at this thing. I never had anything like that when I was a kid. Well, we're getting back to normal here after the horrible attack on Gratouville, the HARP weather attack, and then the shutting off of our electricity and water for many days. I've had a shower for I think 3 days in a row, and just got out of the shower, my hair's wet, and we have a giant collection of trash in front of the house, but that's about to be picked up here in a few minutes. So once that trash is picked up, the last reminder of what we went through will be over. But it really was traumatic. In fact, I haven't even gone back and slept in the master bedroom since this happened, because that was so cold in that room during when they shut off our power, that we were staying out on this big couch in the living room, covered up in all these blankets and multiple sweaters and coats and stuff covering our head, and every night since then I've continued to sleep on that couch. It's like a security thing. And I haven't gone back to the actual bed since all this happened. So there are psychological repercussions from that. I mean, it was bad, and then I think I had it bad. At least we didn't have any. Chad Miller was telling me it went down into the 20s inside of his home. And in the 20s, it got down to the 42, 43 inside our house. But the 20s, wow, and that's absolutely life-threatening. And people are saying that, their water that they were drinking in the house turned to ice. Their toilet bowl, the water in the toilet turned to ice. So anyway, it's a great new world the Great Reset has provided us with. It's wonderful. I'm looking for Star Wars stuff. Star Wars used to be a wonderful thing. I remember, here we go. For those of you that still remember that Star Wars used to be a wonderful thing, here we go. Of course, back then we didn't know that Boba Fett was a Mandalorian. Actually, he's not a Mandalorian. He's wearing the armor of a Mandalorian. He's actually a clone. We didn't know any of that shit. You know why? Because it was better that way. Boba Fett appeared in the movie for about 2 minutes and was really cool looking. Why? Because he was mysterious. You didn't know, like, well, who is this guy? He's got such cool armor. Mystery is great. You gotta, then once you explain, oh, in the prequels, he is a clone, and he is actually named Jango Fett, and he is, I don't remember the story, you know, it was too confusing. And it's actually, he was wearing the armor of a Mandalorian, and it's like, also, Darth Vader didn't need the backstory. It was fine. They should have kept going with Star Wars. They never should have gone back and done prequels. I don't want to see that Darth Vader was once a cute, supposedly cute, stupid kid on Tatooine. All of that was unnecessary. Darth Vader, we know that, you know, at the very end of his life, he redeemed himself. I don't need to know his backstory. It's better to not know. Plunged me right in, assumed that I'm right in the middle of something. That was the great thing about the original Star Wars. But now, I don't see anyone could like the Star Wars of today. And now with this firing of that,
good afternoon, senators.
That Gina Carano or whatever, that was ridiculous. That's going to be the death blow to that whole franchise unless they completely start over. I'm looking at this top value stamps. This is damn, they got a Norman Rockwell cover. God damn, the stereo's getting bad. Well, they used to, when you went to the supermarket, you'd get little stamps, and you put them in a little book, and when you had enough stamps, you could get prizes. And, you know, just shit.
In the interest of the American people, the Senate should promptly and decisively vote to reject it.
The fuck?
No thinking person could seriously believe that the president's January 6th speech on the ellipse was in any way an incitement to violence or insurrection.
Are there toys in here?
The suggestion is patently absurd on its face. Nothing.
This is 70s. Oh, this is when the Spanish stuff was cool. Look at that. Typical housewife, right? In these Spanish lamps. We had a, well, I still have one of them, but the shade's bad. The Spanish lamp. Okay. So this is kind of the era we're dealing with. You'd have to have a... Oh, I still have this damn... Or was it? Yeah, I have, this is a TV, one of the TVs that I grew up with. We had a 1969 Zenith color TV, and then this was the other TV that we had. And it's long gone, but I found one. Where is it? I think it's in this room somewhere, I think. Where is it? Where is that damn thing?
This is manifestly
you know,
by the plain text of the remarks.
I don't know. I bought one at an estate sale, just like my the one that I grew up with. It's a Sony, late 60s. You know, the estate sale I bought it from turned out to be a friend. I was at this estate sale. And then there turned out to be really cool stuff in this estate sale. And it turned out that it was the father of one of my friends in high school had passed away. And this was my friend's childhood home that he grew up in. And but I realized that when I started to see what was in his childhood bedroom for sale. And he is off in Hollywood he's one of the major artists that does pre-production art for movies. His name is Aaron Sims. You could look him up. He's got his own webpage. He designs the look of movies before they're made. So I remember taking art in high school in the same class as him, commercial art. And he was using an airbrush and no one else was. He was just
was squarely
brilliant.
focused on how the proper civic
And
process
then he was friends with this other guy named Greg Ponchatz, and then his father was a real science fiction artist. Don Ivan Ponchatz did a lot of art for Playboy and stuff, and but he lived here, and so they were friends. And I imagine my friend Aaron Sims learned about airbrush technique from his friend's dad. Anyway, he had done some stop motion animation as a kid, you know, like everyone does with Super 8 film, and he'd done some Star Wars stuff, and he had a little Yoda he'd made, and an alien he'd made, and I still have the alien. I gave the Yoda away to some Star Wars freak, but anyway, my friend from high school has most of the movies. Well, he designed the look for when Marvel redid the Hulk as not the first Hulk movie that came out, but the one that actually is part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the one that no one remembers, where he fights the Abomination. He designed the look of that and did the paintings, and he designed so, you know, and I didn't, you know, a lot of people didn't really like the look of the Abomination, and he's really good, but most of the movies that he designs, I don't like the look of the movies. Hopefully he won't see this video, because and basically what I'm saying is I don't really like his visual, the visuals he creates usually are in movies that I hate the visual look of. Like, he created the look of the Green Lantern for the Ryan Reynolds movies with the I would have rather just Green Lantern have a cloth uniform than all that light stupid. So anyway, I didn't mean to turn this into an insult. I should show you the I'll do it in a minute. God, I'm starving. I'm fucking starving.
I do not wish to debate. I wish to ask, is there one United States senator who will join me in the
It's Tuesday morning here. I didn't tell you the date. It's good that I don't, because I never can remember the date. It's February 23rd, 2021. I'm pretty sure that's the date. I could be wrong. I could even be wrong about the year. Wow, look at this. I gotta get this in the other room with my famous monsters, but while it's out, take a look inside. You know, some people say there's too many ads in the back of those Warren magazines. No, that's what makes them great. In fact, these new fake Warren magazines called Warrant magazines that put out a fake creepy called The Creeps, and a fake Vampirella called Vampirus Carmilla. I haven't really seen the Vampirus Carmilla. I've only seen a few issues of Creeps, but do they have ads in the back? Because even if they're fake ads, the greatest thing about Warren magazines is that they had ads in the back, and you would pour over them and look at all these movies that you've never heard of. As a kid, you never heard of them, that you could get on a Super 8 or 8mm for probably a lot of money.
There had never been any mob-like
I had it's right over there. I had a magnifying glass.
A significant portion of each event was devoted
and more,
to
you know. And look at that, you know. I would look at that. I would read them. I'd pour over every photograph as a little kid. Of course, this one's before my time, but you know, look at all these movies that you could get, and it's just a whole catalog in the back of every. And then weird little novelty things, and
the vast majority of the protesters have been peaceful.
and the model kits.
We stand for law and order, and we stand for justice.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country. Maybe there will
Just
be.
movies, projectors. Make your own monster photos. This is just Let's say this issue's from about 1965. I'll check in a minute. That would be my guess. Frankenstein, Mad Mask, drips blood.
We just want law and order. Everybody wants that.
Yeah, they have the gigantic Frankenstein, giant-sized Frankenstein, also known as Big Frankie. It just never ends. It's just page after page. Then back issues of Famous Monsters.
We believe in safe streets, secure communities, and we believe in law
And then,
and order.
yeah, this is definitely mid-60s because it's covering the Munsters. Let's see the exact December
Tragically, as we know,
of
on January 6th, a small group who came to engage in violent
65.
and menacing behavior hijacked the event for their own purposes.
I was about
According to publicly available reporting,
7
it was
months.
apparent that extremists
No,
of
I was about
various
6
different
months old
stripes
when this
and
came out.
political persuasions
So, and I actually bought this off the newsstand at 6 months.
on the Capitol.
I was very advanced.
One of the first
I
people
crawled to the
arrested
comic
was
store.
the leader of Antifa.
There were no comic stores. What am I talking about? The
He was also
newsstand.
among the first to be released.
What a
From
funny
the
joke.
beginning,
All right, here's a more recent issue, 62.
the criminals who infiltrated the Capitol must be punished to the
From-
fullest extent of the law.
And Forrest J. Ackerman was,
The fact that the attacks were apparently premeditated,
you know,
as
everyone
alleged
loves
by the
him.
House managers,
He,
demonstrates the ludicrousness.
this is February of
incitement
1970, so I was
allegations against
5
the
when
president.
this came out.
You can't incite what was
He had a
already
gigantic
so
collection of monster
Law
movie
enforcement
stills,
officers
like
have seen
unparalleled.
conduct
So
themselves heroically
what he could present to you in the magazine was just beyond what any other publisher could give you.
But there must
because
be a
he had-
discussion of the decision by
he had
political
the stuff.
leadership regarding
But
force
he was
posture and
not
security
funny.
in advance of the event.
And
As many will recall,
I don't think
last
even,
summer, the White House
you know, well, as soon as you're old enough to know how to read,
night
you're too old for his humor.
they
and,
repeatedly attacked Secret Service officers.
and,
At
it-
one point, here's
the
security
better,
force
the best monster magazines from that era, well,
Since that
Castle
time,
Frankenstein,
there
and
has been
then
a sustained negative
there were
narrative
several
in the
that were
media
better
regarding the
written.
necessity of
There was
those
Castle of
security
Frankenstein,
measures
and there was,
even though they certainly
Oh,
prevented
man.
many calamities from occurring.
um,
In the wake of the Capitol attack, it must be investigated whether the proper
it'll
force
come to me. The
posture
Castle of
was
Frankenstein
not
was
initiated
great.
due to the
And then in
political
the
pressure
70s, there was a
stemming
magazine
from
called the
events
Monster
of Times
Times.
Square.
And the Monster Times
Consider this.
published its last
On
issue in
January
the summer
5th,
of
the mayor of the District of
1976. And
Columbia
that's
explicitly
when
discouraged
a little bit of the
the
magic in the
National
world
Guard
ends.
and
I still have
local
dreams where I go to a
authorities
newsstand
from
and I
doing
find
more
an
to
issue of the
protect
Monster
Capitol,
Times, and it's
saying,
like,
and I
oh,
quote,
it's still been publishing.
"The District of
There's a
Columbia
guy on
does not
Facebook that has a
request
Monster
other federal
Times
law enforcement
page on
personnel."
Facebook, and he creates new covers for the Monster Times fantasy covers. Like, if they had kept publishing, what would their covers look like? Because they always had a great monster image, and then they also covered comic books, and the writing was really good. It was printed on, oh, I've got some here, and this is not even planned. I swear it isn't. But I know I got some here that I ordered at the beginning of the pandemic. We were actually doing pretty well financially because it was before I retired, and I didn't have to drive to work anymore. I didn't have to spend any money on gas. We were doing well. We were losing weight. We were getting these meal boxes from these Gobble, or I don't know. My wife was ordering these things. You have to cook it, but they send you all the fresh ingredients, and then you cook it. But it's she was getting all these healthy meals, and we were losing weight, and it was great. The beginning of and I didn't have to go to work, and I was doing it on the computer. And I didn't go out to stores very often, so I didn't have to put the mask on, which apparently we're never gonna stop with the masks. It looks like, you know, Fauci's saying another year, and after once saying we didn't really need them at all, and then other people say another 5 years. I don't think we'll ever. It's all a way to show that we're subjugated. I hate putting them on, and I hate looking at other people with them on. I put them on. I cave. But I don't like going out. I don't like going to stores. I don't like having to put that thing on because I can't breathe with it on. And now, oh, you got to have 2 masks on. It's ridiculous. This is the monster times. And when I ordered it from mycomicshop.com, they sent it to me in this super big. Is this Treasury edition size? Maybe. Anyway, it was like the Rolling Stone. It was a newspaper, and it was folded over, and then it unfolded, and at this time it was on sale every 2 weeks. See, it had stuff about EC Comics. See, and then this cover is fantastic. Now, this artwork. Well, a good friend of mine passed away a few years ago, and he owned this original artwork, which is it's Neil Adams' artwork. I'm almost positive. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure it's Neil Adams' artwork. But this was done for Horror of the Blood Monsters. The newspaper ad for the press book. And I mean, that may be one of the greatest covers of a magazine history. Maybe not. I don't know.
Representative Anya Presley declared,
but you know, this is towards the end, man. Because Space 1999 is getting close to the end. Yeah. The last issue had the $6 Million Man on the cover, and still had Space 1999 coverage. It was, and
one of those was released and went out
you know,
and committed another crime.
What destroyed the world?
Beat the bejesus out of somebody.
You guys gonna hate this, but what destroyed my world is something that I loved.
Everyone beware. They're not going to stop before election.
I loved Star Wars when it came out so much. I can't tell you how much I was into it. I really was. I loved it. And then waiting until the new one came out, I read all the stupid Marvel comics with a green rabbit and read Splinter in the Mind's Eye by, I think, Alan Dean Foster that takes place like, is this going to be what happens in the sequel? Of course it wasn't, but I was really into Star Wars. Empire Strikes Back came out wonderful. Raiders of the Lost Ark came out great. Then Return of the Jedi came out. We saw it the same day I graduated high school. I went to see it in the afternoon, and the ceremony was in the evening. And we walked across the same stage where Kiss once performed, and Alice Cooper and Led Zeppelin, because on the stage at the University of Texas at Arlington, where our high school had their ceremony, that auditorium had housed a lot of bands back in those days. But anyway, so I get to walk across the same stage as Gene Simmons to graduate high school and college, because I graduated from that fucking college too. They still send me little things. Could you donate money since you're now very rich?
Unlike the left,
idea.
President Trump has been entirely consistent in his opposition to mob violence.
So what happened when Star Wars came out is
just as he's been consistent that the National Guard
this magazine started to put Star Wars on the cover of every issue. You know, I think first they had like C-3PO getting his star on the Walk of Fame, then an issue with R2-D2 on the cover. Then pretty soon it was just all space stuff. And the space stuff started to kill off the monster craze, and
no matter how much
that kind of destroyed my world. I didn't realize that something I loved so much was going to destroy my world. And then, what else? Oh, and then the slasher movies came out, and I loved Halloween, but all the other slasher movies that are just an excuse to see people's throats opened up and axes and heads. I love gore. I am a gore hound. I love blood in movies. I love the end of the Wild Bunch. I love the exploding heads and Dawn of the Dead. I love all that. But there needs to be an element of monsters, an element of the fantastic or the supernatural with the gore or science fiction for me to accept it. So, the gore in Alien is fine, but the gore in a movie where it's just a slasher killing people, I don't like that, because that's reality. People are, that really happens in real life, but an alien or some giant monster biting your head off doesn't happen in real life, so I can accept that gore and it's fun for me. So my gore has to have an element of the fantastic, for the most part, or complete silliness and incompetence, like the Herschel Gordon Lewis movies, Blood Feast, and of course 2000 Maniacs. Those are ghosts that are actually killing everybody. Oh, I'm sorry if I gave a... I think they tell you that at the beginning of the movie. I didn't run it for you. Let's see what else we got in this box. Oh, June 1959 issue of Mad.
The Senate should reject this.
Now, I've got bags and boards for all these magazines. I actually do have that. Here's a Mad album.
Over the next,
Actually, I have this record. I'll show it to you soon. I'm going to go through all my records and show them to you. Right now, all I can think about is breakfast, but damn. I just love...
with an analysis of
Just
why
fucking love Mad. And of course, Mad is still barely still coming out. I just got an issue of Mad that was an all Sergio Aragonis issue. But they said Mad is going to stop publication. We're going to keep going for a year with reruns, but I never see it. It'll show up at Kroger and then disappear like instantly. So I imagine it's selling, but no magazines really sell. The internet is another thing. It's wonderful in many ways, but it's killing off magazines. And see, I like physical media. I don't give a shit about these digital comics, and now everything, you get all your news about movies through the internet, and that looks like someone I knew in high school. I won't tell you who. I had pulled these out because I put them on a display rack, but I think I'd rather have... I'm putting them back in with my Famous Monsters collection so they're all together. Someday I'll have a comic wall and some big house that we might get in the future. But I'm wondering if I should even leave Texas, because at this point Texas looks like it's rebelling against this damn Great Reset, New World Order, damn cabal shit. And that's why they were trying to freeze us out. But I just need to move somewhere, maybe out more in the country, and where property taxes aren't as high, because that's really rough. Here's Castle of Frankenstein. That cover is freaking amazing. I mean, that's... This cover... And what I showed you on that Monster Times a little bit ago, with the Neil Adams cover, those are some of the greatest covers. I can't even imagine anything better than that. I don't know what this is, or where I got it. It says mature readers only. It's a magazine for people that have a fetish for Mexican wrestling. I don't know what store I made a purchase at. You know, it's like an article about El Santo and the comic books based on Mexican comic books based on this wrestler. In Mexico, these wrestlers were, I mean, this wrestler, El Santo, he was a wrestler. You could watch him on television in Mexico. Then you could go see him in a movie, and it would be the same guy fighting Dracula and Frankenstein and zombies and mummies. And then he in real life, he never took the mask off in public. So he basically was the character for his whole life. And I think his son maybe wrestles now. But it's like this magazine apparently is like girls dressed in the masks and skimpy clothing. And they show you the mummies in Guanajuato. And it's yeah, this is just like a weird fetish magazine for. But it's the Blue Demon was another one of the Mexican wrestlers in the 60s. So this is like a strange magazine.
On Wednesday this week, countless news outlets repeated
it's called From Parts Unknown. I've got 2 copies of it. I wonder when this probably came out in the 90s.
Let me ask you this.
I'm guessing.
Why was this footage never seen before? Shouldn't the subject of an impeachment trial, this impeachment trial, President Trump,
when did this come
have
out?
the right to see the so-called new evidence against him?
Man, where are my glasses?
More importantly, the riot and the attack on this very building was
Oh.
a major event that shocked
No,
and
those are
impacted all
sunglasses.
Americans. Shouldn't the American people have seen this footage as soon as it was available? For what possible reason did the House managers withhold it from the American people and President Trump's
It's 90s. I think that says 99.
How did they get it? How were they the ones releasing it?
Yeah, they have like articles about Mexican comics. So this has a comic book angle to it.
The Department of Justice. Is it the result of a rushed snap impeachment for political gain without due process?
Oh, here's an ad for Dita Von Teese before she was famous.
That your job as jurors, in this case, is a fact-intensive job. But of course, as
Ooh,
several
that's
of the
cool.
House managers have told you,
They reproduced an old
we still
ad.
don't have the facts. Speaker Pelosi herself on February 2nd called
Yeah,
for a
From
9/11
Parts Unknown.
investigation
I have
to
issues number
investigate
4 and
the events
5.
of January 6th.
Talk about obscure. I have no idea
Pelosi says that the
where I
commission
got
is
that
needed
from.
to determine the causes.
Here's Space 1999. Charlton put this out.
If an inquiry of that magnitude
Pretty sure that's a Gray Morrow
determines
cover.
the causes of the riot, and it may very well be.
I bet the original painting looked a lot better than it does on the cover
Bring articles of
because
impeachment and blame the riots on
something
President
always
Trump.
seemed very bland about this cover.
The House
Maybe the
managers,
fact that
facing a
it
significant
just-
lack of evidence,
just
turned
kinda
often to press
doesn't really
reports
pop.
and rumors during
But
these proceedings.
it's a Space 1999,
Claims that would never meet the evidentiary
magazine.
standards of any court.
you know.
In fact,
I used to be.
relied on the words of Andrew Feinberg,
Some of the art's better than
a
others.
reporter
This
who
one is not.
recently
The art's not as good.
Sputnik, the Russian propaganda outlet. You saw it posted.
But this was
By
all
the way, the report
so
they cited
exciting.
was
July
wrong.
'76. We thought it was going to be. It was promoted as though it's going to be the new Star Trek. But the thing about Jerry Anderson, who was famous for doing science fiction shows with marionettes, when Jerry Anderson Studios cast real human beings instead of marionettes, they acted as about as wooden as the marionettes did. And Martin Landau is a really good actor, but you know, if you're a good actor, if you're not directed just right, you're going to wind up being wooden. I don't know. The first season, people considered it kind of, I guess, boring, so they brought in an alien in the second season. Oh, I was really into this show when it was out.
Reportedly, is not the standard in any
Even had a
American
pretty good
setting
cartoon.
in which any semblance of due process is afforded an accused.
Yeah, there's more of that.
Reportedly, isn't even
Yeah,
near some
I was really into it because it
Is
seemed
exactly
like
as reliable as I Googled it.
I'm pretty sure Roy Thomas even did some
And if you're
scripts.
worried you might ever be
for
tried
Xena, it
based
really
on
felt
this type
like
of
I
evidence,
was watching
don't be.
Marvel
More due process
Barbarian.
is, you find a parking ticket.
The writing, I don't know, it just seemed
One
good. I
reason
liked
due process is so
her
important with respect to
and
evidence offered
all
here to the
that.
accused
And,
is that it requires an opportunity to test
oh, I even have an old
integrity,
wrestling
the
magazine.
credibility, the reliability
WWF.
of the evidence. Here, of course, former President Trump was
something
completely
else.
denied any such opportunity. And it turns out there is significant reason to doubt the evidence.
Oh, they have like
the House
centerfolds in
managers
here.
have put
I
before us. Let me say this clearly.
They changed to WWE. I think there was a problem with WWF being like the World Wildlife Fund. This box must have been put together, this part of the box, in the 90s. I've got a wrestling clock that talks on the hour, and it has, and it always seems to respond to whatever. My wife can be upset about something, and then Stone Cold Steve Austin will come on. I have it in the kitchen, say, quit your crying, son, or I'll give you something to cry about.
Or verify the accuracy. Consider these facts. The House managers, proud of their work on the snap impeachment,
What?
staged numerous photo
It says something
shoots
about the dead. I don't know. Something about. Well, at one point, the wrestler Kane says, "My creatures of the night will feast upon the flesh of your corpse." But and then my wife will be in the kitchen cooking, and it'll say, "Can you smell what the Rock is cooking?" And then it'll still tell you to shut up. I think it's something like "Shut up, jabroni" or something. I don't know. It always seems to respond to what's happening in the house. Something about my wife was talking. There was this little boy that passed away in Texas during this when they turned off all our power when it was freezing, and then the clock said something about "the dead will stay dead" or something. Not exactly that, but it was like, oh shit, this clock's getting a little scary in its responses to us. This is some geeky thing, the world of fandom. I don't know, it's printed on kind of cheap paper, but it has some good ad mats in it. But that's a sick movie, Blood-Sucking Freaks. I'm not sure. It's got some good stuff in it. I don't know what this even is. For everything good in here, there's something shitty. A lot of Toxic Avenger stuff. A lot of stuff about trauma. Could care less about trauma.
But that's not all. It's wrong with this one.
Wild Cartoon Kingdom.
House Manager Swalwell showed you this tweet this week, and he emphasized that this tweet reflected a call to arms. He told you repeatedly that this was a promise to call in the cavalry.
Oh, I've had this since I was in San Antonio, like 3rd grade. Laughter. Nah, more 4th grade. September 75.
The problem is, the actual text is exactly the opposite.
That's why. I must have gotten it in the summer of 75, and it was dated way ahead, because I know I bought this in San Antonio, and we moved from San Antonio to during the summer of 75, and we moved to Tacoma, Washington, because my father was moved to a different hospital. He managed hospitals in the Army, so he moved up there to I think it was called Madigan, up there in Tacoma, near Seattle. So this must have been dated quite a few months in advance. I don't know, just some little humor. It's some little humor thing. But I don't know, I guess I thought it was enough like Mad that I was excited enough about buying it. Yeah, it's just... Yeah, I don't know if you ever heard of this magazine, Laughter. I thought it was neat at the time.
And we're probably not going to be cheering so much for some of them.
This is a dirty comic. I had a bunch of these, but they got water damaged when, yeah, this is pretty hardcore. I had some books damaged.
I know that everyone here will soon
This
be
is
marching
cool.
over to the Capitol building to peacefully
Paint and marker books, not old.
make your voices
It's
heard.
the art inside is
We
shitty.
are going to walk down
But I
to the
like that
Capitol.
art.
They showed you that part. Why are we walking to the Capitol? Well, they
This
cut
is,
that
I
out.
don't know what this is, the Ultimate Ultraman coloring book, but it's like homemade.
Peacefully and patriotically.
I don't know what
Supreme
the
Court
deal
rules
is
in
with it.
Brandenburg that there's a very clear
I must have
standard
got it during that time period when I was hanging out with Joe Riley.
whether the speech was
Joe
intended
Riley was so into Ultraman.
and was it likely to do so. Go to the Capitol and cheer on some members of Congress, but not others. You
Yeah.
know it doesn't meet the standard for incitement. So they edited it down.
Joe Riley, I worked on
We heard a lot
the show The
about
Hypnotic Eye with
fight
him.
like hell,
Now,
but they cut off
there's a
the
local DJ named Mark Ridlin,
optimistic,
and he's a really great guy.
that
But I
followed
met him,
immediately
and he
fight like
He was a cool guy. He lent me all these VHS tapes, let me copy them about 1990. And then he said, hey, you need to contact this guy named Eddie Holland. He's got all these toys he's selling. So I contact this guy. He lives over in Dallas. He's renting a house. The entire house is like a toy store. And he collected everything. You know, and he was collecting right up to present day. He had all the, you know, to me, G.I. Joe is G.I. Joe. The G.I. Joe that you see up there. The action soldier. But he had all the little G.I. Joes. He had all these weird toys. He bought it all. And then he had the Mego stuff from the 70s. He had everything. But he collected also Japanese toys. And he was really into Kamen Rider. Kamen Rider, he said when he was a little kid, he knew someone that had come from Hawaii, and he had all these little toys, and his friend called them Cricket Motorcycle Men. And then he later found out they were called Kamen Rider because in Hawaii they showed some of those Japanese shows on television. And so he became really interested in Japanese culture and Japanese monsters and all of that. He was really into Kamen Rider and had traded with people in Japan for Japanese TV shows, and I would beg to borrow them from him to copy them because it was like superheroes for real. TV shows in the United States, when they tried to do superheroes like the 1978 Spider-Man, it was always like they never had super villains, they never had big, it was just kind of bland. But these Japanese shows went all for broke, and they really seemed like superhero shows. Even though we couldn't understand what they were saying, it was just all action. It was great. So he was really into that, and he was really into Kiss more than anyone I ever know. The Kiss pinball machine I bought from him. I bought Mego figures from him. I bought all kinds of stuff. He was trying to sell stuff off. He was in a financial crisis. But he did a public access show with Joe Riley called Monster Attack Team. And that was before the Hypnotic Eye. And that thing hasn't... I need to dig out my copies of that because that hasn't... Hypnotic Eye, a lot of people have heard of that and it's been traded, but people don't know about Joe Riley's early show. Joe Riley and Eddie Holland worked together and they had a show called Monster Attack Team. Joe Riley was really into Ultraman and Eddie Holland was really into Kamen Rider. And they were friends and they did this show together for a few years and showed clips from Japanese shows and Kiss and commercials. It was just like the Hypnotic Eye but more centered on Japan. And there was a band that Eddie Holland was really into. It was like a Japanese Kiss, and it was like, what was it called? I can't remember.
Now you in America know the truth.
I can't remember right now, but anyway, the two of them had a falling out. They were no longer friends. And then
You knew what the president really meant. He meant that the crowd should demand
I kind of started hanging out more with Joe Riley, and he liked this magazine I was putting out called The Sophisticate, and he says, I want to do a video version of that magazine. And so he started The Hypnotic Eye. I worked with him on a few episodes, especially episode 2 was the one I really worked with him, and that was pretty much the show that I said, put this here, put that commercial there. He edited the thing all together just the way I would have done it. But the rest of the show was pretty much all, the series was all him. Because I was told that apparently on IMDb it lists me as co-creator of the show, and that's just not true. He came up with the name, he came up with the puppet, all of that. It's all his baby.
The people who need to fight are members of Congress.
I had the idea to use the theme to Ultra Q as the theme song to it, but he did all the cool editing along to that, set, to the beat of the song. It's great. So anyway, that's Joe Riley's thing, the Hypnotic Eye. But then, like, he had a falling out with Eddie Holland. He kind of just stopped calling me. He was upset about something, and so I lost touch with him for a good 10 years. And then I got back in touch with him through MySpace, and was talking with him. We're going to go to a Universal Monsters convention, and it was like, hey, we're friends again. And the next day I heard that he died the night before. So, right not long after we made friends again, he passed away. So, why am I off on that? Probably because I was looking at this Ultraman. This is when they brought Ultraman back in the 90s as a syndicated TV show. I think it was an American show. Alright, here's a I had this since I was a kid, this Disneyland coloring book. Oh, look at this. I didn't even know I owned this. It's a Flash Gordon coloring book.
I introduced articles of impeachment in July of 2017.
We don't impeach this president, he will get reelected.
My oath requires me to be for impeachment, having impeachment hearings. He needs the scarlet eye on his chest.
The representative should begin impeachment proceedings.
Yeah, just cool stuff. I don't know where I got it, but I'm glad I have it.
Bring impeachment charges.
My personal
Who's
view
up?
is that he richly deserves.
This isn't old. As long as it's got this on it, I don't consider it old. But it might be old to some of you.
For anything he does.
Oh, here's a childhood. I've had this since I was a kid.
Ignore their own words and actions and set a dangerous double standard. The House managers spoke about rhetoric, about a constant drumbeat of heated language.
Planet of the Apes coloring
As I'm
book.
sure everyone watching expected, we need to show you some of their own
Yeah.
words.
Cool.
I just don't even know why they're not uprising.
It's just great stuff.
There needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Batman the Animated Series. Does it have Harley Quinn in it? If it does, it's probably just invaluable now.
I'd like to take it behind the gym if I were in high school. If we were in high school, I'd take it behind the gym and beat the hell out of him. No, I wish we were in high school, I could take it behind the gym.
I will go and take Trump out
Biden
tonight. Take him out now.
seems like this frail old man, this reanimated corpse shuffling along, but in high school, he was, without question, a complete asshole. The type person that you just would have hated. And that's why he always resorts to, if I was in high school, I would take you behind the gym and just beating the shit out of him. Because he's a violent, angry bully. And violent, angry bullies get old too. You go to death row, or people that have gotten life in prison, and you see these little old frail men and figure, oh, how could they be bad? Well, when they were young, they were mean motherfuckers, and they would slit your throat with the drop of a... And that's just the way it is. You get old and you seem all innocent and everything. But, oh, this is a cool magazine, too. It's got all this... Damn. 1994. Yeah, man, this has got Lone Ranger cartoon. You ever heard of the Lone Ranger cartoon? It was from the 60s, and it's real. He fights all kinds of supernatural monsters and stuff. This has got storyboards and for the for Dino Boy, and it's got like all the original. Look at this stuff. Reference sheets for the artist for Space Ghost. It's a great book, magazine.
People are upset and they're right to be upset.
Now Eddie Holland was friends with the guy that put out this magazine, Oriental Cinema. You see the weird, all these Japanese shows. Then in the 90s they brought over a Japanese show, and then they added American segments to it so that the kids wouldn't know that when the characters took off their helmets, they'd film new scenes with American actors. And it was and they call it Power Rangers. And then they've done that with those 5-man team shows. They've done a ton of them since then. So now, but those shows are cool in the original Japanese form. But this is put out by a guy named Damon Foster in California. But yeah, I really got into all this Japanese stuff there. I mean, I was really into it. And I still love it. But, you know, you go through periods where you have obsessions with certain things, or you like that. Like, there's the time period when I'm really into rockabilly. There's a time period when I'm really into the Japanese monsters. And I always love it all, but then, you know, you go through a period when you're really into the Beatles, and then you go through, then you're really into this, that, and it's like, just, now on YouTube you can get a lot of these Japanese monster shows, Heroes on Film. See, this cover's not just Japanese, but other Italian and whenever they have superheroes, Italian stuff, yeah, see. Yeah, I pick up this stuff. This is what the Kamen Rider characters look like.
Well, I'm wired to fight anyone who isn't doing their job for us.
Here's
I'm John Tester, and you damn right. I approve.
Japanese cinema and culture. Okay, so this is like Japanese. This is about Japanese girls in Japanese genre movies, I guess.
We got a few more fights. We're gonna take the privilege of a few more fights, and we have the biggest fight of all. I
guess
never stop fighting.
Japanese girls were painting on tans there for a while. Oh, but this is the one. There was this magazine called Giant Robot, Asian Pop Culture and Beyond.
It's so important that we need to fight.
Giant Robot. This cover is a little offensive. Actually, this whole magazine's kind of offensive.
We're simply not going to take this line down. We're going to keep fighting. So I'm telling all my
Here's Chiller Theater. There were a lot of these magazines back in the 90s.
We will fight back. We're not going to just take this line down.
Then there were these kind of magazines.
What we have to do right now is fight as hard as we can.
We have to rise up and fight back.
And so we're going to fight, and we're going to continue.
Oh, this magazine. I remember this. I remember buying this because I'd get anything with Star Wars on it. Questar, as I recall. this thing has comics in it, and then
And I'm fighting.
stuff like this. Bigfoot lives.
I'm asking for the support of people
I
across
don't
the country to
know.
fight back, and you got to be fierce.
What?
Fighting.
Brown have been fighting.
I've told President Biden I will fight like mad.
It's designed
We have
to
these
look
battles on the floor of the Senate. I'm going
like,
to go down.
it looks like a penthouse.
I'm going to be down there on the floor.
Oh, it's a Robert Bloch interview. I don't know. Maybe I'm mistaking this for something else. Yeah, I think I am.
What we've got to do.
I need to go back and read that Robert Bloch interview.
Fight in the streets, fight online, fight in the ballot box.
This is a magazine that Starlog put out for people that made their own home movies, and it was people that made their own little Super 8 movies and everything would send in how they did their special effects and how they built their robots and stuff. And,
We each have an important role to play in fighting. In this fight, like so many before it, it has been a fight. The American
and then I remember this was a magazine for kits, model kit, homemade. What do you call them? People would build these model kits. They'd sculpt them, and then they'd make small runs of these model kits made out of resin. And that was interesting to me for a while.
As Joe Biden says, to fight. It's about fighting of what we're fighting for. We will tell them about what we did to fight really about it.
Show Business Illustrated from 1961.
I believe that we are in a fight. I believe we are in a fight. I believe we are in a fight. So there's a fight in front of us. A fight for all of these things. And so we're prepared to fight for that. We know how to fight.
Mr. Magoo looks at show business.
We know how to fight.
This is there's some money behind this. This reeks to me. Let's see if I'm right. I have a feeling there's Hugh Hefner money behind this because it's thick, like Playboy. And I'm right. Look, Hugh Hefner, publisher. These thick magazines. I've got a couple of boxes over there that I was just moving of 1950s and 60s Playboys. Those boxes are heavy. It's like you're moving records. Playboy is such a thick, heavy magazine. I don't know why it's heavier than other magazines. But yeah, Playboy, collecting Playboy is gonna, if you have to move the boxes, it's really gonna get you in shape. This is for people into like garage rock and 60s music. Or the revivals of it, you know, this Chocolate Watch Band, which is a great band. Great.
We're in the fight of our lives right now. We fight like hell to fight.
Fight against the Trump administration. Democrats are standing up to fight.
Yeah, what else I got in this box? Fear of Darkness.
And we'll fight it out. I have taken on the fight.
1982. It has old ad mats, so I like that.
In this fight, it's to fight for this fight. And every day I'm in the
Yeah, it has a lot of ad mats.
I will fight. And one of the
It's
things
a
we do is fight.
monster magazine.
Each and every day to fight.
But
And we need to be side by side so we can succeed. And so I hope
it's got this kind of homemade type.
and if we fight,
It's a fanzine.
the next governor of Georgia, I will never stop fighting. We can show the
Here's
old
another
Lord
one.
something new, and we can fight my fight.
Oh, this is the first issue.
The Biden administration requiring us to fight, and fight we will. Their fight. And their fight.
Article on John Waters.
Is a fight. And so when we fight the fight that we
Oh, this is out of Columbus, Ohio, because it's got like a local ad in it. I wonder if Michael Weldon had something to do with this.
And we will fight the fight, we will fight, we are in a fight, the fight.
Tim Meyer, articles editor. Yeah, published out of Columbus, Ohio. Limited circulation of first issue. First run is 1,000 copies. All material contained herein. Currently an application for copyright. And apparently I paid $4 for this in October of 1990 at Half Price Books.
That's okay. You didn't do anything wrong. It's a word people use. But please stop the hypocrisy. And did you tone down the rhetoric last summer?
This must be a catalog.
Did you condemn the rioters? Or did you stand with Nancy
movies you could order from Mondo Movies.
This is a movement, I'm telling you. They're not gonna
Motor
stop.
Booty.
And everyone beware, because they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after.
It's got some good art in it.
And please, show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
I just don't want to know why there aren't uprisings all over the country. Maybe there will be.
Yeah, it's got all kinds of.
It was a violent night in St. Louis.
Yeah, I think this was out of Detroit.
Destroying property which can be replaced is not.
I think this was a gaming magazine, but I bought it because of the Corbin cover. And Richard Corbin, I loved his art. But then there's some stipple drawing on the back of Conan. Well, actually, I remember buying this at Lone Star Comics. This was, oh man, this is local. This is published out of Carrollton, Texas. Oh, this must have been. I bet this was, yeah, Larry Herndon was the editor. He was one of the original people in comic fandom. He had a store called Remember When. That's where I got my well, he was a little bitty guy that had, I don't know, multiple sclerosis, muscular dystrophy, something like that. But he was friends with Buddy Saunders, and there were 3 guys, I think, that were local. Buddy Saunders was out of Arlington. This guy, I guess, was out of Carrollton. They knew each other, and they put out a comic book in the 60s called Star-Studded Comics, that when they created their own heroes, and I think that's where the name Lone Star Comics came from. The Star. Stars, it was the Lone Star. And it was just, they made their own Texas comics, and they were supposed to be like the Golden Age comics. This was in the 60s. And Larry Herndon went on to create a comic store and memorabilia movie poster store called Remember When, and Buddy Saunders started Lone Star Comics, and I think there was a 3rd guy. You can read about it in these books on history of fandom. But anyway, Larry Herndon passed away before I ever went to Remember When, and his wife ran it, and I found her very annoying. But and nothing was priced in that store. That was the other problem. But this looks like this is mainly about playing war games. But it all says like King Kong, but it's like King Kong in the military. Everything has is got like. And they've got an interview with Richard Corbin.
Objected to the counting of electoral votes of the state of Ohio.
And then about how to build, you know, I guess.
State of Alabama, the electors were not lawfully certified.
Jewish group wants swastikas removed from toy planes. Huh. This red skull that I've got here behind me doesn't have a swastika on his armband. It's just a cross. I guess you could alter it to make it look accurate like the comics, but I understand people being offended by the swastika, but on a model plane, I mean, it seems a little silly. Let's see what's in this box.
One of the House managers, Mr. Cicilline, told you that this is not about the words Mr. Trump used in isolation. Rather, it is about the big lie.
Oh, okay.
The claim
This
that
is
stolen. The House managers told you that it's the big lie.
This is a mad imitation called Frenzy.
That the election was not a fair election, or that the
Let's take a look at this.
Claiming an election was stolen.
It's marked $30, but I got it for half price, so I apparently got this for $15.
And caused people to respond violently.
Frenzy.
Claiming an election was stolen or not legitimate is something that a candidate should never do because he or she knows or should know.
From April of '58.
And such words can actually incite violent insurrection, you were told. Well, it seems that the House manager's
And it looks,
position
like
must be actually a bit narrower than that. The House manager's position really is that when Republican candidates for office claim an election is stolen or that the winner is illegitimate, it constitutes
I gotta get more of these mad imitations.
and the candidate should know it.
There's a book out by Craig Yo, Yo Books, the guy with the weird beard, and it's called Mad Imitations, and I haven't ever seen it, or I would have bought it, but it has mad articles from Mad Imitations. See, there's the Charles Adams characters, but this is years before the Addams Family TV show.
And that is perfectly
I get, what is the name of this article?
no way incitement to an insurrection. And somehow,
U.S. tries to catch up, appoints new missile czar, then off to the moon.
Stolen or illegitimate, it's never a big lie. You've been doing it for years.
Yeah, that's
But can you imagine
trying to be mad,
your supporters?
but it doesn't look really bad.
Possibly lose is if an American
It's a pretty good mad imitation.
And ask yourself whether you've ever seen anyone at any level of government make the
They
same
have all
claim
about Melvis.
their own election. If Stacey
Instead of
Abrams
all this,
doesn't
it's
win in Georgia,
Melvis.
they stole it. It's clear. It's clear. And I say that publicly. It's clear.
You can
That's,
run the best campaign.
I guess coming from
You can even become the nominee.
imitating Harvey
And
Kurtzman's,
you can have the election stolen from you. He knows
I like to use the name Melvin and Mad. I guess he thought it was just a funny name.
There were a bunch of different reasons why the election turned out the way it did.
Votes remain to be counted. There are voices that are waiting to be heard.
Fucking CDC. What the fuck is this thing called? The boxes I hate. BCW something.
You're not using the word legitimate.
There are still legitimate concerns over the integrity of our elections and of ensuring the principle of one person, one vote.
This has a detached centerfold.
Very worried that when they cast the ballot on an electronic voting machine, that there is no
Day in the life
trail to
of the monster.
that vote.
But constantly shifting vote tallies in Ohio and malfunctioning electronic machines,
Let's see what's going
which
on
may
with
not
this.
have paper receipts, have led to additional loss of confidence by the public. This is their only opportunity to have this debate while the country is listening, and it is appropriate to do so.
Oh, I see what happened.
House Manager Castro no longer has to try to
going
imagine
on?
it, thanks to the distinguished senator and others. It didn't have to be this way. The Democrats promised unity.
It's more than
They
just a
promised to deliver the
centerfold.
very COVID relief in the form of $2,000 stimulus checks that President Trump called for. They should have listened to their own words of the past. I leave you with the wise words of Congressman Jerry Nadler.
The effect
Yeah.
of impeachment is to overturn the popular will of the voters. We must not
This book has
overturn
got
an
some
election to
issues.
remove a president from office.
I guess that's why I got it for $5.
Or our constitutional liberties against the dire threat. And we must not do so without an overwhelming consensus of the American people. There must never be a narrowly voted impeachment or an impeachment supported by one of our major political parties.
Oh, I've got some creepy and eerie's that I need to pull out. I was going to show you.
In our politics for years to come. And will call into question
Yeah, I was going to show you my creepy and eerie. Where did those go? I bet they're in a box back behind me. But I need to pull these out of this box and put them into that box.
President Clinton, they still support him. We have no right to overturn the considered judgment of the American people. Mr. Speaker, the case against the president has not been made. There is far from sufficient evidence to support the allegations. And the allegations, even if proven true, do not rise to the level of impeachable offenses.
Oh,
Mr.
wow.
Speaker, this is clearly a partisan
This was
railroad
such a
job.
great
The same
all
people
Richard
who
Corbin
today
issue.
must impeach the president for lying
I
under
can't
oath
explain to you.
almost
Richard
to a
Corbin
person
is
voted
so
last
great.
year to re-elect the speaker who had just admitted lying to Congress.
There's another
in an
Corbin
official
cover.
proceeding. The American
This is
people
one of
are
my
watching, and
favorite
they will
Corbin
not
covers.
forget.
Oh, I
You
love
may have the
this.
votes. You may have the muscle, but you do not have the legitimacy of a national consensus or of a constitutional imperative.
I've got some marble
This partisan
stuff.
coup d'etat will go down in infamy in the history of this nation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield back the balance of my time.
And here's where Will Elder and Harvey Kurtzman came back to Mad during the 80s. And they actually did a cover or two. Wasn't this a great issue? Look at that cover. This was written pretty well. The Marvel Imitation of Famous Monsters. And this is a cover I always loved. Oh, I remember seeing this, just like yesterday on the newsstand. Let's take a look at this. Something you've seen advertised a million times, but you may not own.
Hi, Dick Clark, brother with Donna Lauren. Here's the day's best idea. Relax, refresh, enjoy Dr. Pepper, the distinctively different soft drink for today's light and lively taste. That's Dr. Pepper for fun-filled flavor and lighthearted lift.
Look at this.
Man.
Now look what they did, how they altered Adam West and Burt Ward and made them look like the comic book characters by whiting out their eyes. That's interesting. Just doing that changes their look so much. This cover is real close to being detached, but it's got great stuff. I gotta be real careful with this. I guess that's why I got this for $2. That's probably why. Other than that, it's in perfect condition. I've got to get some more drinking water. And last time I was at the store, it was completely sold out. Maybe it's been restored. Maybe they've had a new shipment. It's jumbo size classic horror tales. And it actually is very thick. Very thick. Oh, that's my car. I heard my car beeping out there. My keys. I must have pressed them up against the chair here, and it caused my car alarm to go off out there. How about that? Yeah, it's jumbo size indeed. get some bottled water. We're so close to the power gets shut off for just a little while, and we think we're in a civilized world, but it's so close to just having nothing that we don't realize it, that we really need to. You know, I had tons of water. I had like 8 things of water because I was expecting things to go bad around the time of the election, and that's gotten us through it. But now I got to replenish that water. Yeah, got all kinds of good stuff in this box. Let's look at this. The only hope is that kids like to rebel. And if things get so far and so crazy out there, will the next generation rebel? And could they go back to listening to music like this? I mean, already we've got a generation coming up that is buying records again. They call them vinyls. But they're buying records. And, you know, the people that own the media want us to, they want us to, oh shit, there's paint on it. God damn it. I didn't even see that. Somebody put paint on this fucking thing. How did I not see that? Did I pay for this? I paid $7, $7.50 for this. I wonder if that was an attempt to, maybe someone wrote their name on it and then they sold it, and they didn't want their name on it when they sold it to Half Price Books or something. They painted over it. Didn't have quite the right paint. From a distance, it just looks like just kind of a cool paint scheme, but you can feel the fucking paint on there. Damn, because it's in pretty good shape. Other than that, this is the Black Light Barnabas Collins poster, glow in the dark rather. God damn it. But if a new generation comes along and rejects all this politically correct cancel culture and things go back to being and the hip hop and everything that's, oh wow. I mean, I guess it's possible that could happen. This is Skywald, February 71. This is actually really good. See, I need to just read all these fucking books that I've got and just avoid going out to stores. And then, because right now I can't afford to be buying new stuff. I just can't afford it. Oh, here's a comic that needs to go in the other room. It's going to be too thick to put into it, I think. Well, it might fit in a Silver Age bag, I don't know. Oh, here's a bunch of Castle of Frankensteins. Oh, cool. Remember this magazine? It was a Hammer magazine that came out of England. It was Halls of Hammer, and then it became Halls of Horror. But it was, they sold it right down the street at the Chief Sanders Books. And they always have like a comic strip version of a Hammer movie. Look at that. Is that great or what? Damn fold. Yeah, so they have this. They always have comics in the back. And Captain Kronos Vampire Hunter, that was a great movie. He's sad as fucked up. Wow. Who thought of that particular ad? That particular illustration for that ad? Yeah. You know, some of the stuff I haven't looked at yet that I got for $2. I think I have a copy that's in better condition in the other room of this. But I saw it in the $2 bin at Duncanville Books, and I realized it's got a fold like throughout the whole issue. That's why it was $2. But I need to get these Castle of Frankensteins in the other room. At the beginning of, I think, yeah, I need to get them all together in one. This is Castle of Frankenstein number 3. This is the good stuff. And this one I got in the early days of the pandemic from mycomicshop.com. Same with this one. Because we had some extra money, and I think it was for my birthday. Yeah, because my birthday happened right at the beginning of the damn pandemic. My birthday is in April. I have 2 copies of this one. Castle of Frankenstein covered Star Trek, but Famous Monsters just acted like it never existed. I put the Green Hornet on the cover of this issue. And I have multiple copies of this one. This one I got from Duncanville Books recently. Oh, here's some cracked magazines that need to go in that box there. This one I got from eBay because this cover is so incredible. And I got it as my birthday present last year. Which was another, used to really like cracked when I was a kid. But I had to put those in with my cracked collection. So here, this box labeled cracked has these Atari 2600 games because I was all excited about playing them, but then it turned out that didn't work out. See, why don't I do that in the next episode? Ooh, that back cover's not, it's barely attached. Shit. Here's the owner's manual for the Atari 2600. Let's go into the room. I figured everybody moved around from room to room on YouTube, but Mike from Comic Crypt of Castle Hills was saying, I'm going to do this episode like Gratu Orloff. I'm going to walk around the house, and apparently it's something I've innovated on YouTube. Yeah, he's in the middle of moving. It looks very miserable. He's about 5 hours away. I mean, I should go down and try to help him. Okay. Got to get this issue of the Flash into this room. Okay. Okay. So. All right. Place the camera. Got you resting on a pillow. I don't know. I've never tried a pillow as a tripod before. Well, here's to another generation coming along and fixing all the problems that have happened since the release of Star Wars, which is the death of monsters and what else has happened? The 90s in the comic book world were pretty horrible. Rock and roll music is, I mean, there's no good music today. I mean, there has to be something good today. Something, somewhere. Maybe moving to some small town, it'll still be kind of like the way it used to be. Maybe not. Oh, this, I didn't realize it. I just discovered it last night. On Hulu, there's a Son of Satan TV show. They've kept it real damn quiet, haven't they? It's called Hellstrom. And, yeah, it's already there. You know, you can watch the whole series, but it's apparently already been canceled. It's been there maybe a month or two. And, he doesn't wear the Son of Satan outfit, and his sister Satana is just called Anna, I think. And it looks like maybe she's a little goth looking. And I was about to watch the first episode last night. I quickly went on the internet, read a review, and they said it's terrible. Marvel's disavowed it. They didn't even put the Marvel logo at the beginning of it. It was an attempt to do a bunch of Marvel horror characters, and you know, it's just, you know, if you don't have the balls to go ahead and do the character right, why even do it? What made the character interesting was that he had that he looked like that it was the, I mean, and Satana, that she looked like Vampirella, you know, that you're afraid to go all out with it, then don't even bother. Oof. Well, I guess I'll upload this episode, and then I'll come back and maybe go through some more stuff in the other room or something. But I'll be seeing you.